We're a group of enthusiasts. We aim to inspire collaborative learning and to foster a dynamic community of Agile enthusiasts. Tonight we have with us Amir Peled, who's going to give us a nice talk. By joining our community for this event and for the following events, we hope you will find a collaborative and motivational, inspirational space where you can share ideas and experiences, where you can show us your practices and help each other actually grow and thrive. So my name is Mihail Aru. I'm one of your hosts today and part of the group organizing the Agile Minds Romania community. I'm here with my colleagues, Florin, Manolo, right? Also part of the organizing group, and Bogdan. Say hi. And we're passing this short introduction to our guest speaker tonight, Amir, and to his topic, overcoming the 5 dysfunctions of a team. So good luck, Amir. Take it from here.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Amir Peled. I'd like also to address the Romanian who are here with Bună seara și bine ați venit. And I'd like to quickly walk you through Butter. Perhaps to some of you, this tool is rather new. Let me get started. And you should be able to see on the screen some flashcards. Yeah? Okay, great. Thank you. So first of all, you may use any digit that you want from 0 to 1 and just name it using an emoji. So just give it a try. And if you press any digit from 0 to 9 quite fast, the following may happen. It becomes bigger. Great. What else? You may choose the Q button. And this is where you will follow in case that you have some questions or you have an idea or you'd like to comment. By the way, feel free to interrupt me whenever you want to. It's perfectly fine. You may use... Yes, please. Okay. You may use the chat. Feel free to write down whatever you want to. You may also take some notes. And what is special about taking notes in Butter is that those are available to you only, meaning no other people can see what did you take as your personal notes. You may use the letter M to either quickly mute or unmute yourself. And the very same applies to video. That is pressing the V button to turn on the video or turning it off. With that being said, please stamp your decision whether you are ready to get started. That is, click on either the thumb up or the thumb down that you can see on the screen. Okay, I can see. Yeah, great stuff. Let's warm up with a quick check-in. The purpose is not to know who knows and who doesn't. The purpose is actually to connect you from the very beginning with the subjects. You'll be given about 45 seconds to identify what are the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Let's get started. And you shall be able to see the results of the poll on the screen. All of the answers are anonymous. Excellent. Let me share with you why did I create this talk. I observed that quite often people are not aware of what the 5 dysfunctions are. Or they know that they exist. However, they don't know what available tools are out there which may help them to overcome the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Now, the 5 dysfunctions of a team is based on a book written by Pat Lencioni back in 2002. So you may say, nothing new. Nothing new indeed. However, in this talk, I would like to suggest 5 tools which were either designed by me or I took it from somewhere else and tweaked it according to my needs. According to the team's needs, I would say. Let's get started, and I'd like to share with you a personal story. Now, my story is in 1996. Okay, 1996. And I was part of a team, and it was the very first time that I was part of a professional team. And I was part of a team who was dealing with art, digital art. And that art was called ANSI. Now, you may not be familiar with it. Let me actually show you what am I talking about. Now, you can see some building blocks on the screen. And what happened was that you use one brick at a time, and you create that art in a specialized application. Now, you may ask yourself, okay, Amir, nice. What does it have to do with today's topic? Well, the reason that I'm showing it to you is that if you actually zoom out, you can see how it looks like, right? Quite nice. And a team member accused me that I stole this image and I just put my signature underneath. In other words, plagiarism. And guess what? I was kicked out of the team without even having an opportunity to defend myself, 1 month later, the person who accused me was kicked out as well. Why? Because the team found out that he was actually the person who was stealing other people's art and putting his signature, accusing everyone around him. The team wanted me to come back. However, I decided to decline the invitation because I had no trust in the team anymore. If I only knew back then what I know today. Let me show you one way how could I deal with it completely in a different way. What you can see on the screen right now is a tool which was created by Management 3.0 called Personal Maps. And the purpose behind it is to provide an opportunity to each other to get to know each team member better. And you may reveal as much as you feel comfortable with. So for instance, you may say, what is your education background? What do you do for a living? Or perhaps, what roles did you have in the past? Up to you to determine what is the level that you'd like to share it. And then I thought to myself, okay, what if I do it differently? And I do it with the purpose to trust each other at a deeper level. Let me show you how do I do it. Now, first of all, I put my name and a photo of me when I was a child. So I think that I was here about 3 years old. I was in Germany. And this is actually where I grew up. So I was born to a German mother from Karlsruhe, Germany. And I also consider that I grew up when I attended London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, and graduated in business. And another thing which really helped me to grow up as a person was coactive coaching training, which I undertook. What else? This is where I consider positive impact. And here I can mention my mom, my amazing daughter, and my fabulous wife. And you can see the reasons on the screen. Let's continue. What scares me? When we are speaking about heights, I feel like I don't sense the steps that I'm taking on the ground. It's like I'm floating. So it really, really scares me. And I also don't like the idea of swimming in the sea because I'm afraid of shark attacks. Another thing that can help us to gain more trust among team members is speaking openly about mistakes that we had. One of my biggest mistakes was when I was kicked out of high school at the age of 16. I was actually ejected because guess what? I was problematic and education system is not equipped to deal with problematic people. Another mistake that I made was that I attended art school. And this is where you will see also some of my drawings. I love drawing by hand. I don't use tracing. I rather start with some simple shapes and then elaborate on them. And probably a mistake was that I didn't graduate again. This time art school, I attended only 3 out of 4 years. And last but not least, and this is a recent one, I lended money to, and lots of it, to family and friends. And when I need this money, these funds are not available, fortunately. Another thing that can help to gain trust is when you speak about your worst job and you reveal it. Guess what? My first job ever was in a fast food chain, in a kitchen. And probably it was the worst job ever. And another one was as a waiter working in the seaside. So if I summarize, when you have all of these components and you agree to share as much as you feel comfortable with, you may enhance trust in the team. However, this is an ongoing activity. It's not like you do it once and we gain trust in each other and this is it. Bear in mind that we bear the foundation, and let me show that on the screen. Okay, the foundation to address the 5 dysfunctions of a team. That is, without trust, you won't be able to address the following 4 dysfunctions of a team. I'm going to pause for a moment in case that you have some questions or comments.
Questions or comments on the chat, Amir? If it's a live one. I see Patki, sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, has a question. Patki, you can unmute yourself and ask the question if you have a question.
Sorry. I didn't understand because you pronounced my last name. My apologies. So Amir, thank you so much for going over with the overall process, how we can enhance or try to build the trust through this activity. Just quick question: how do you deal with the team members that are not comfortable in sharing all this information openly? I mean, they may open up in front of you when you are with them in one-on-one, but still, when they are in bigger meeting and they are kind of hesitant in sharing all this information with everyone. Any suggestions on that?
Yeah, sure, Soroji. And I'm so glad to have you here with us. Yeah. What I do in this case is I would talk to them one-on-one to understand what do they need to be able to share openly. Because it may be that actually absence of trust prevents them from sharing it openly. So I would bring it back to them. What do you need from me? And what do you need from each other in order to share this exercise openly? For instance, it may be that people are ridiculed, right? It may be, for instance, that I shared that I was ejected from high school and people make fun of me and tell me, yeah, of course you were ejected because you are a moron, so it speaks for itself. Having similar experience, most likely in the next team, I will be reluctant to do a similar exercise. So it is really, really about finding out what's going on in the team, what stands in the way to share, and how can we support each other so that we enable that share among each other. Does it make sense, Soroji?
Absolutely. Thank you, Amir. That helps.
You're very welcome. What other questions any of you may have?
Another question coming from the chat from Andrea. Is this an exercise to do during a retro or start when you start with a new team? Also, there are people that don't share on principle.
Yeah. It really depends, meaning that you can try it in the beginning. You may try it as part of a retro. You may try it as an intentional exercise to increase trust in our team. And it may also happen with the mature team, that you find out some new things about your colleagues. And this is part of the beauty of this exercise. You may also use some tweaks to it, meaning that since we work for so long with each other, I will complete this exercise for another team member. And this is where the magic may happen. And I might say, wow, what the other person mistake may be, right? So it's really, really a self-revealing exercise, and it may do wonders with increasing trust in a team. However, it's not the only exercise out there, and you need to create a habit and make it an ongoing exercise. My recommendation would be not to use the same exercise over and over again. Okay. Yeah, there's another question. Great. Yes, Alina, go ahead. Alina, we cannot hear you.
I think you're muted, Alina.
Only to view my video. So my question was around if there are any specific techniques that may be applied to increase the engagement of the team members.
When you say engagement, what do you mean? Say more, please.
To make the people more open to discuss about their about personal stuff. Or I know that I've been trying Troika techniques. I'm just wondering if you have something to share with us.
Yeah, one of my favorite one is, and it doesn't feel comfortable, is to start with me first. Meaning that I try to model the behavior for other people. And I may go quite deep and tell people that they don't necessarily need to go that deep. And what happens is, by me modeling the expected behavior first, I create an expectation among other people and peer pressure to do something similar as well. I also encourage people to use the right to pass, meaning that if they don't feel comfortable for whatever reason to share, it is okay in the beginning to say pass. However, they may not overuse it. And you will see also how I connect all of this with some other techniques that I'm going to share with you. Does it help, Alina?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, feel free to ask at any time. I would like to share with you some keys that you may use as a takeaway when we're speaking about trust. Before we do that, you can see on the screen a poster that I created. I drew it by hand using markers on a big flip chart. Give it a try. And number one, this one we already touched upon. This is about having a foundation, a solid one, and that is trust. Number two, when we're speaking about trust, it is about how do we show up. And one way to do it is actually being vulnerable by removing the masks that we are all wearing. Number three, we need to acknowledge that, yes, having more trust or creating one from zero does take time. However, if we are intentional about it, it can actually be accelerated. And once we are intentional about it, we also need to acknowledge that some maintenance needs to happen. So this one was about trust. Let's see what else did I prepare for you. My next story is about fear of conflict. And I remember that I was with my team in a meeting room and I prepared a poster in advance regarding the 5 phases of conflict. And I explained to my team, why are we in this meeting room? That is that I'm going to share what are the 5 phases, and we are going to determine at what phase is my team at. And one of the team members said, okay, great, I still don't get it. Why are we here? I said, okay, I'm also a little bit lost. Which part of me sharing with you, why are we here, you need more clarification about? And he said, well, 5 phases of conflict. I mean, conflict. Why conflict? What are you talking about? And then another team member said, yeah, there is no conflict in the team. And I said, okay, are you proposing that it doesn't make any sense to have this meeting because there is no conflict? No, it's not what I said. Come on, you just said it. You just made it. No, it's not what I said. Okay. What is happening right now? And the other team member said, well, apparently the two of you have conflict around whether we are having a conflict or not. Let me share with you why a good, healthy conflict is actually a prerequisite for a team to succeed together. Just bear with me. So we covered the absence of trust. Now we are at fear of conflict. What tool can I possibly share with you when it comes to conflict? And this is one which I created by myself. Conflict preferences. And what do I mean by here? We may use a thumb up. Quickly, show me some thumb ups, either through an emoji or on the screen. Yes, let's use that. Let's build up on this. Thumbs up. Acceptable behaviors. And you can see on the screen some examples of what kind of behaviors do we want to have in our teams. However, just acceptable behaviors are not enough. We also need to have some, wait for it, please show me some thumb downs. That's right. Some unacceptable behaviors. Okay? And by being clear about what are the acceptable behaviors in our team and what are the unacceptable ones, we may actually determine how can we handle conflict. However, the two alone are still not enough. What do we need extra? In case that someone, a team member, or perhaps several, don't follow on our conflict preferences, what are we going to do about it? So we may use a buzzer, for instance, to signal, hey, we don't follow what we agreed upon. And yes, thank you. And yes, it may be part of a working agreement. Okay? So by having this and making it visible, and again, it's not set in stone. My expectation is that we are going to review it from time to time, add some new acceptable and unacceptable behaviors, and perhaps determine some more ways how can we address violation. I'm going to pause for a moment. What questions do you have?
Questions in the chat.
Great. Feel free to interrupt me at any given point in time. Yes, Orochi, go ahead.
Hi, Amir. I completely agree with you and believe that productive or constructive conflict is healthy for the team. However, how to set the boundaries when the team continues that healthy or constructive conflict for a longer time? I mean, if the team continues to get into the rabbit hole, even if it is a task conflict or maybe responsibility conflict, and it extends for a longer period, which is not acceptable for the overall productivity of the team, how would you address that situation?
I would share with the team what did I observe. Meaning, whenever things get difficult, whenever things get juicy, you go down back to the rabbit hole. Yeah? And I'll ask them to, what is your opinion here, right? This is what I observed. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps I'm right. And I just play back to them, what did I notice? And it may even be an invitation to, hey, let's have a tough conversation right now. I don't feel like we are getting anywhere towards having a healthy, good debate. And if we think about it, it's actually quite normal, and it happens to us quite often. What can we do? We don't feel comfortable around having a conflict. However, we need to be intentional about creating the right conditions so that we will have unfiltered debate around some tough issues. So another tip is don't speak about a person, speak about the challenge that you have. And then it makes it easier. And it may decrease the chances that people will go down back to the rabbit holes. Does it help, Suruchi?
Amir, it does. Also, a sub question to that: do you think time boxing of any specific maybe conflict or topic or challenge discussion would be helpful? I mean, in the working agreement, if we have some set time boxes, like, okay, if we are in PBR, product backlog refinement, we can talk about, say, around 10 minutes or so about one issue that we are talking. Do you think that idea would be helpful, or any other suggestions?
Yes and no. And what do I mean by that? Yes, I think that time box really helps you to focus on what you are trying to achieve. And no, in the sense that you may not be able to cover everything that you wished as part of the conflict. So what you can do is actually have a time box around the change that you're having outside of it, like a follow-up. Okay. You can also ask people to mine for opportunities to have debates outside of given meetings or events or anything in that fashion.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Amir, there's 2 more questions in the chat if we still have time to take them now.
Yep.
Okay, I'll go with the first one from Mihai. How to do this from a position of not being the leader in the team? For example, I am the product manager, but the team is kind of coordinated by the deputy CEO.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would suggest to the deputy CEO to have working agreements in place. That is, how are we going to collaborate together? And it really depends from one organization to another. Some may say, okay, let's address the expectations that we have from each other as stakeholders and so on and so forth. Some may even design a leadership alliance. So it really, really depends from one company's culture to another. What may be missing is that to have the courage to suggest something similar. I believe that every one of us may have more leadership skills than we may be aware of, and you may also lead without having authority in place, which is really, really interesting.
Okay, I hope that helped out Mihai. Do we still have time for another question, Amir?
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead.
Okay. What is, in your opinion, a top 3 skill to use during disagreements with stakeholders? Which works for you best?
Okay. I would pick up one top skill, and I will pick up the one of professional coaching. And why do I say it? Because I noticed that whenever it comes to conflict resolution, you may tell people what to do, how to solve the conflict, and it may still reappear. And I truly believe that if you equip people with finding their own solutions to the challenge that they are facing in their relationship, can truly make a switch there. It is quite a big topic. I'm really, really passionate about it. And I hope that I managed to answer this question by giving my one top skill when it comes to conflict resolution.
I see the confirmation in the chat, Amir, from Vlad. So I guess that's a yes or a thumbs up.
Yep.
There's another question that popped up, if we still have time now, or if we park it for the moment. Tell me.
Let's take it.
Okay. So this one is from Jeannie. Is there a good way to praise the team when we do have healthy conflict? Is it a good idea to call the individuals out and thank them?
It depends. How do we get along with each other? What other agreements we may have in place? The way that I see it is whenever it comes to praise, it's something similar to raising children. That is, whenever I notice the accepted behavior, I want to see more of it. And for that reason, I may call it out. However, it really depends on people's personality. For instance, I'm more introvert, and I don't feel much comfortable either way. That is, if people praise me in front of everyone, or if people judge me in front of everyone, yeah? Or at least that's the way I may perceive it. So we need to be mindful. We need to know what is the preference of our team members, and it may be part of the accepted behaviors. You can actually bring it back to the team and say, okay, whenever somebody does the accepted behavior, how would we like to react as a team? How would we like to encourage each other to see more of that accepted behavior? Okay? And I really think that by bringing it back to the team, you may actually discover far more options than just you alone, just one mind. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir, for the answer on that one. We have also the confirmation in chat.
Yep, great.
No other questions for the moment, only some comments in the chat. So I guess we can take them at another future time.
Yep, absolutely. Now, let me show you the keys when we are speaking about conflict. Again, and the reason why I keep saying it is that many people approach me and told me that I don't promote my hand-drawn posters enough. Sometimes I forget about mentioning that, hey, I'm the one who actually drew them by hand, using no tracers, just simple shapes and then with markers over them. So you can see it now on the screen. And I did my part. I think that I mentioned it for the second time. I'm not going to overdo it because guess what? I don't feel comfortable about doing it. Or perhaps I need to do it more often. Either way, first one is about engagement. And since we are professional, we may have some passionate debate because we do care. That's perfectly fine. We need to do it in a respectful manner. We need to also do it unfiltered. And it is about challenges and issues that we are facing, never about a person. And yes, conflicts may feel uncomfortable. Doesn't matter if we are speaking about healthy ones or unhealthy ones. However, What we really want is to create the conditions to create healthy ones. One way to do it is creating conflict norms, discussing them, and also clarify those which we may not necessarily understand. And bear in mind, we need to be intentional, not only about trust, building trust, also about creating the conditions that we will have some productive debates in place. Let's move on to the next, that is the third dysfunction of a team, with another story. In this story, what happened was that, some background, there used to be a team. I say like this because I don't necessarily see it as a team. I see it rather as a group of people that is 31. And they used to have one manager who was the team lead of that team. The company that I worked for went through changing their ways of working and thinking, and decided to split the 31 people, instead of one team, to split them into 4 teams. And what happened to the former manager was that that person was no longer a team lead. That person became a chapter lead only for the developers. I remember that I was requested to join, I think it was either sprint planning or sprint review, I don't remember exactly, and to observe the behavior of that former team lead that is the new chapter lead for the developers. And what really frustrated them is that they couldn't make any decision. Because whenever they wanted to go into one direction, that person said, it will never work for you. I know better because I have more experience, and I vote against it. Let's use dot votings so that you'll see that I'm completely against it. And I decided to challenge that person, and I said, what if you are going to disagree to the chosen decision, yet commit to the decision which is made by the team? Over my dead body, it's never going to happen. I said, okay, I can sense some tension. What if you take some time aside and think about my challenge? What happened was that that person tried to demonstrate time and time again why the team is wrong and that person is right. And I think that it took that person eventually about a couple of months till that person decided to quit the organization. Lack of commitment, that is the third dysfunction of a team. What can we possibly do about it? Well, one thing that we can do is determine what decisions are we going to take together as a team. So imagine that you have a session with many people in the room, or virtual one, as we are here right now, and you generate some sticky notes. And you can see some of these sticky notes right now on the screen, right? And once they are generated, you may group them together. You may have further discussion. And you may actually write them down. Okay, so based on everything that was generated on sticky notes, what do we decide to do together as a team? You also capture the date so that you may review it in time. And it's all nice in theory. However, reality is different and team decisions may not be enough. To enhance the likelihood that we actually are committed to the team, we need something on top of that. What we need to do is to take each of the decision that we made as a team and say, to what extent is the decision that we are speaking about clear to everyone? And it can also be quickly done in a Roman voting style. If a decision is not clear, then we need to clarify it. Once decisions are clear, we also need to determine to what extent do we actually agree to them as a team. And you may recall the example that I gave you about 5 minutes ago. Yeah? Once decisions are cleared and agreed upon as a team, we also need to figure out to whom are we going to communicate our decisions. Because it may be that some part of the organization outside of our team may need to be informed as well. So I provided here 4 examples where decisions, that is the first 4, need to be communicated to the rest of the organization, and the last 3 not necessarily. Okay? I'm going to pose once again. What questions do you have regarding this subject? Yes, Orochi, go ahead.
Hi, Amir. As we know, in Scrum, you may need to think about what decisions need to be taken by whom and when and why. So I can just talk through one example. For example, if a prioritization of product backlog items is concerned, that's a product owner's decision. Or versus the other example is, okay, when the product backlog refinement session should be scheduled, that could be a team decision. So can you share some techniques, specific techniques, how we can find the right balance between which decisions should be taken by whom and when and how?
Yes, thank you, Sorochi. One technique which I really like is called the decision matrix. And this is where we determine within our team key decision areas. And then we also decide to what level are we actually, or who is going to make that decision within a team. So this is one technique that you can use. It can be done in an Excel spreadsheet, or you may use Miro or any virtual board that you like. Another one that you may decide to use is delegation board, where you determine once again the key decision areas and the extent to which you are going to delegate. So for instance, it may be that an idea needs to be solved first. You need to be convinced, and unless you are convinced, that decision will not move forward. And it may go to the other extreme, where you say, I fully delegate, I fully trust you. That specific decision, you don't even need to inform me. And of course, there are some shades in between. So whenever we are speaking about delegation board, we are speaking about 7 levels of delegation. Does it help, Sorochi?
Yes, that does help. Just to get additional support on this, is it possible for you to send the links to decision metrics and delegation board maybe later, not right now, but maybe later? That would help me a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for mentioning links. At the end of this session, you will get from the organizer a link to download as a PDF everything that you saw on the screen in Miro. Okay, so you'll get it, no worries, you'll get some goodies once you leave this session. What other questions do you have? Yes,
Amir.
stakeholder mapping may be useful as well. Yeah.
Okay, Amir, there is a question on the chat. Mihai addressed how to address these issues when joining a new team as a product manager / owner, being very new to the team and the team being established. Somehow it's my responsibility to do the agile coaching, but I'm new and people might reject me or the ideas to be coached.
Absolutely. And this is quite common, right? And I suspect that the foundation is lacking, meaning absence of trust. So what I would do first would be determine with the team how are we going to increase trust, work on it, and once we feel comfortable about it, we may go and address the next one, which is about conflict.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And another one also from Mihai, because Mihai is working in a very hierarchical organization, seems like, how to address pushy stakeholders, bosses who know better, but they're dead wrong.
Yes. Here, I believe that professional coaching can help a lot, because what happens is that you help them to generate new, different perspectives and invite them to choose one. They may return to their previous one, they may pick up something new. Another thing that I like to do is also tell them what is their contribution to the current situation. And what do I mean by that? Quite often, pushy managers get really, really frustrated that we don't have self-organizing teams or self-managing teams. Okay? We don't even have cross-functional teams. Nobody cares. Okay? And this is where I like to challenge them. What is your contribution to the current situation? Okay? Of course, we need to build trust first, because otherwise I would be seen as judgmental or the person who criticizes everyone and so on. And this is where we need to have some clarifications from the very beginning. What do you expect from me as an agile coach, as a product owner, as a Scrum master, in case that you are using Scrum as developers? And you need to reiterate and keep teaching again and again and again. It's not that people don't get it. It is more about we have our boundaries within our company. We worked in a certain way. And right now we are speaking about something completely different. And I'm trying to put the new idea into a box which is known to me, because it makes me feel more comfortable. So it does take people some time to shift and to realize that we are speaking about something else. I hope that I make sense.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your responses, Amir. Any other questions from the audience?
Yes, it takes time. Yeah, absolutely.
Patience is one of the qualities, I guess, for a coach and or for a leader.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love it. Great. Let me show you the keys that I'd like you to walk away with. Not before I'm going to show you a cartoon that I created. And guess what? Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Now let me show you the keys. So the first key is let's listen. Let's try to consider some other opinions rather than ours only. Because if I feel that I'm being listened to, I will generate some more ideas, and it will help the team to become more creative and innovative. However, if each and every time somebody tells me, yeah, Amir, but we spoke about it so many times before, it will never work in our organization, that agile thingy, yeah, it does work in other industries, but you don't know our industry, you have no clue about our business, then guess what? You will not hear my voice anymore. And that's pity, not because it's my voice and I'm in love with my voice. I'm among the people who will not say anything anymore because you are Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all. So why shall I contribute my ideas? Another key, is rather than waiting to find the perfect decision, let's pick up one and let's try to validate whether our assumptions behind that decision hold true or not. And the way that we want to do it is rather quickly so that we learn out of it. Another one, when we speak about commitment, we are speaking about two components, clarity and buy-in. Assumptions are already mentioned, so just try to validate them first. Don't continue with assumptions as they are with the flow. Just go with the flow. And be intentional about having discussions which are really, really clear and we go somewhere. And there is a false illusion that we must have consensus time and time and time again. Folks, we don't necessarily need to have everybody's agreement. We may disagree and still commit for the goodness of the team, and we may learn something new while doing so. We have the last two dysfunctions to cover. Just bear with me. Yes. Now, this one is about avoidance of accountability. And what happened here, you know what, I'd like to be mindful also for the time because we have time box. I will skip this example and I will go directly to a technique. Okay? Thank you. I'll just try to adapt as we go. Okay. Avoidance of accountability. This is the fourth out of the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And what happens quite often is, oh, you know what? I'm still going to use an example. I will do it shorter, in a shorter version. I used to be a project manager, and I was summoned to the portfolio manager, who told me, Amir, this is completely unacceptable, and he started shouting at me. And I remember that he was really, really, like screaming and so on and so forth. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? Apparently, I didn't join a weekly reporting meeting. And okay, I had some technical challenges. I informed my program manager, who was there on a weekly basis anyway. So what's the big deal? And then I really got triggered by that portfolio manager. So I was just letting him, keep shouting. And then I asked, okay, can you please repeat what you said, but this time calm? Because guess what? I didn't understand one word from what you were saying. And now I'm going to quickly jump to a tool. How could I possibly do it differently. You can see on the screen a coin, and you may also choose to use it as a feedback. And COIN is an acronym which stands for context, whereas you provide a person some background about what was going on. O stands for observations, that is, what did you notice that happened? You don't say something in the lines of, I noticed that you are a mean person, because this is where it becomes personal. Yeah, you notice, you share, what did you observe? What did you notice that was happening? I, from the COIN acronym, stands for impact. That is how everything that happened impacted you on a personal level. What was the consequence? And finally, the N letter from COIN stands for next steps. What would you like that person to do differently? Let me connect it back to my very short example and show you how could I possibly do it in a different way using the COIN acronym. So I start by giving that person, that is the portfolio manager, some background. And I say something in the lines of, hi, I would like to have a conversation about our last meeting with the subject of me missing the weekly call. So this is where that person knows exactly what I'm talking about. And if that person doesn't know, I may clarify the background first. Then I move on and share what did I notice, that is my observations. And I say, okay, I noticed that you raised your voice. I don't say you were shouting, you were screaming like crazy, your face turned red. Yeah, I don't say it. I rather say you raised your voice. This is something that we may debate on or not. Yeah, have some passionate debate, some passionate conflict. And this particular behavior, I don't say you as a person, yeah? This behavior, for me, I rather find it challenging, because once people raise their voice, I disconnect from the meeting, and it's really hard for me to follow. So you can see from what I notice about you, also to what happens with me. Makes sense. Now, what is the impact? That is the I letter from COIN. Now, the impact is that it created quite a tense atmosphere. When I'm speaking about me, it really made me feel discomfort, and it also made me feel disrespected. Okay. What would I like the portfolio manager to do differently? The N letter from COIN, next steps. I would appreciate if next time we could maintain a professional and respectful tone in our conversations, even if we find some subject tough ones to speak about. Now, I do acknowledge that it takes some practice to use the COIN feedback. It may feel completely unnatural, and that's fine. It may say that we have like a gap to jump over, and move outside of our discomfort zone and learn something new. I would suggest and truly encourage you to try to give to each other COIN feedback, because it does miracle, and it helps to avoid avoidance of accountability. And of course, it's only one method out of so many useful feedback models that exist out there. I'm going to pause once again. What questions do you have regarding coin feedback? Are you still with me? Make some noise.
Yeah, hi. Mihai here. One moment. Yeah, how do you find the time to do these meetings? Because there's a lot of normally scheduled calls, a lot of group meetings, and things like that, and there's no time for quiet feedback meetings.
Yeah. I'm known for being meetings annihilator, meaning that I really like to challenge the existence of so many meetings. One of the things that I do it is by modeling, first with me. And the way that I do it is I don't necessarily accept all meetings which are out there. I want to know what is the expected benefit that people expect from me attending a meeting, and what difference am I going to make in case that I'm going to participate. I also reject or decline meeting requests which come without subject, without clear agenda. And I also help teams to challenge the existence of so many meetings. Because what I noticed is that then we are being sabotaged by all of these meetings. We have no time to reflect, and we have no time to give feedback to each other. We have no time to improve. We are literally like hamsters who are running down, the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. But how do I do that from the same position I described earlier? Being a new member in a new team, in a new company, in a team coordinated by someone who is my senior, my direct boss, basically, and who has an idea of working in calls, the crazy idea of having calls with all the team and wasting 2 hours with no agenda, no actions or decisions taken at the end of a call. And I'm to be honest, I can't find the word in English about this. Find this a horrific way of working. And it's not my way of working. My way of working is exactly what you described. But how do I make this change and convince 10 people who are used to working this way?
Yeah, excellent. One thing that you can do is to have one-on-one with that person and have the courage to share with them exactly what you shared with me. Another tip is show them the impact. And what do I mean by that? Start collecting some data which validates your assumption that you are losing time by attending so many meetings. And what will happen is that if you validate that assumption and it holds true, I don't know managers who will refuse valid data where you say, for instance, in the last 1 month, the company was losing that amount of money because people attended meetings without having any contribution. When you speak the money language and have some data to support it, then a change may happen as well.
Okay, we have some other questions. We have some questions in the chat. So Alina is asking, when providing coin feedback, is it best to do via one-on-one or by email or chat?
Yeah, my preference, and again, it depends, and it depends also on what kind of agreements do we have. We may agree to give each other feedback during a meeting. If the meeting is over, we may agree to give it as soon as possible in person. My least preferred method is to give it written, because some people may also be afraid of whatever is written may be used against me. Okay.
Okay, we have Suruchi again with a question.
Yep.
So, Amir, coin method seems to be pretty methodical, stepwise, and we can certainly adapt that or apply that. But my question is, how would you handle a situation when you would be able to cover C and O of coin, and then you would receive a response that I don't think I have any inputs to this. Uh, I would not be interested in talking or continuing any discussion around this topic. Then how to proceed further? Maybe basically reluctance to overall acceptance of topic itself.
And the topic that we are speaking about is coin feedback or something else?
About feedback of coin feedback. Yeah.
Yeah. So here it's about showing the impact of what we anticipate that will happen unless we give each other feedback in a healthy way. Now, people may be reluctant to use the coin feedback. This is where I like to challenge people back and say, okay, what do you have in mind? What other feedback forms do you know? And if they don't know, I actually have a workshop about 50 different ways of giving feedback. 50, that is 50. And this is where people can pick up their favorite one, because it's not one tool to rule them all. People may choose whatever one makes sense to them, as long as it is equipped to provide the feedback that other people can learn from and become better.
Okay, thank you, Amir. One more question for this one, and we'll go to the fifth dysfunction after that. What about the situation when that person does not receive the coin feedback well? I guess it's for any feedback.
Yeah. One of my favorite techniques is called 2% truth. And what is meant by that is quite often we think in terms of absolute, meaning I can either relate to the feedback that I received, or this is completely bullshit and I have nothing to do with that. Either or. And what the 2% truth does is you take aside some time for reflection, not at the heat of the moment. And you ask yourself, if the other person, the one who gave me feedback, had 2% truth of what that person said, how would that look like? Okay? I know it is deep, it is hard, and we may take some feedback personally. And this is where clean feedback may help, because you no longer make it about the person. You make it about some things that you observed. And the beauty about it is that you may say, I didn't observe it, or I don't agree, I disagree, or I actually meant something else, or it may be really revealing in the sense of Oh, I didn't notice that. Whenever I get passionate, I start shouting and moving my hands, and my face becomes red and whatever. Okay.
Thank you, Amir.
Welcome. Let's move on to the last of the 5 dysfunctions. Story time. Again, let me do it quite quick for the sake of time, that it will still be meaningful for you. I used to work with a team who was considered a high-performing one. They trusted each other. They did go into healthy, passionate debates and conflicts. When we are speaking about commitment, it was definitely there. As a team, they committed. Also, when we're speaking about accountability, it was there. However, what was missing was attention to results. Because guess what? For instance, the UX designer actually received a prize from the headquarters for his most recent design. And another team member said, well, I came from the gaming industry, and from UX UI perspective, it doesn't make any sense. Well, guess what? I won a prize. I don't care about your prize. It doesn't make any sense. Think about the user first. And then the product owners came in and said, well, we also need to finish this campaign. Oh, why are you telling it to us in the middle of the sprint? And the product owner said, you know what? Do whatever you want to. I don't care. Let me show you what can we do together as a team to pay higher attention to our results. So we covered all previous 4. Now we are in the 5th one. One thing that we may choose to use is something similar to a scorecard from sport. However, we do it as a team scorecard. We start with a thematic goal that is one thing which is temporary, and we can also quantify it qualitatively, that is shared by all the team. Once you determine a thematic goal, you may also determine the objectives which are associated with it. That is the components that help us as a team to achieve the thematic goal together. Once you have them in place, you also think and determine together as a team what are the priorities of the organization, because you'd like to have some clear links and alignments. Quite often teams don't think about beyond the team. And this is where standard operating objectives may help. And these are all shared by the team members. Now, to illustrate it with an example, to make it more clear and vivid, let's say that our thematic goal is about survival. And we'd like to achieve that by regaining our credibility. Okay, good. What objectives can support this thematic goal? Now, we may work in cars workshop, yeah? And this is where we say, okay, one way to do it is to fix tires. We may also improve our public relationships. We may repair our relationships which deteriorated with our distributors. We may also address moral issues, and we have some lawsuits, so we definitely need to settle them down. And you can also see the dot, which is an indicator for us how well are we doing with each of these objectives. So clearly, we need to pay higher attention to fixing our relationship with our distributors. Now, when it comes to the alignment that we have with the rest of the organization, so we need to pay attention to revenue. We really want to increase it. Otherwise, we are not going to reestablish credibility and survive. Pay attention to our expenses. To what level do we actually produce? What is our market share, and what is the level that we satisfy our customer? Let me quickly move to the keys. And if you want to, I can also stay a little bit longer, if of course the organizers can as well. Yeah. Let me share with you a quick one which I created about the subject. I hope that it will bring a smile to your face. Bello teamwork, banana teamwork, or perhaps too much teamwork? Let's look, how does it end? Okay. The keys that I want you to walk away with when we're speaking about inattention to results is, first of all, when we're speaking about teams, it is about setting team results and achieving them. Another one, rather than me, I prioritize the team as a whole entity rather than myself as an individual. And the last key that I want you to go with is, there are some expected results. And this is also related to some of the questions that you posed to me earlier. Let's clarify, what do we desire to achieve? And let's keep them visible so that everyone knows what is expected from the teams. My name is Amir Peled. Thank you so much for today. You will receive the PDF. And I'd like also to thank thank you. You will receive the PDF after this talk is over. You may choose to follow me on LinkedIn. You may choose to get some free resources. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you, the organizers, for hosting me and for hosting us and making all of this possible, and any sponsors that helped us here. Now, thank you. I'm happy to remain if there are any outstanding questions, and of course, bring it back to the organizers first. So I put myself on mute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Amir. We have Suruchi with another question. If you have some minutes.
Yep. And I'd like to mention that our time together is over, so there is no obligation to stay over the time. If you are curious to find out more answers to your questions, feel free to remain a little bit longer. Yes, Suruchi, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I don't have any additional question. I think that I have a question was clicked in an error, but thank you so much, Amir, for all your advices, guidances. I was able to get a lot out of this. Thanks a lot.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Suruchi.
Okay.
So since there's no longer more questions, I think we want to thank everyone who joined, right, for making this session so engaging, and it actually exceeded our expectations in terms of engagement. So thank you all who addressed questions, and for Amir to be so patient and kind to answer everyone. Thanks to the co-organizers, Florin and Bogdan, for facilitating the question and answer sections. And again, to all of you here, we wish to have you again soon on our future events. We haven't scheduled just yet one, but we have from Bogdan a few links or ideas on how to follow with Agile Minds Romania community and be aware of what's going on next, right? So Bogdan, to you.
Thank you very much, Mihai, and thank you very much, Amir, for the insightful presentation and interactive discussions. As Mihai already mentioned, we were quite surprised by the big number of questions, which is always a great thing. So we were really glad to see that you guys were really into the topic and really interested. We really thank Amir for making it in this engaging way. And as Mihai mentioned, I already dropped the message in the chat regarding the references to our LinkedIn accounts. So to the Agile Minds, to Amir. It's no surprise since you guys joined, I suppose you were already connected with Amir, but since he gave a very nice presentation and he's our special guest for today, who made this happen, of course, we have to include him into our very nice group. So we really thank you all for being here with us and for taking your time at this session.
Great. So if there's nothing more to add, have an excellent evening going forward, and look out for our next announcements, and see you on the next episode of Agile Minds Romania meetup. Okay, guys.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time.